I'm sure by now you've heard of the half-demon, half-goat-man abomination known as Krampus. But there's someone else you should be aware of. Frau Perchta, the belly slitter. This happened in a small village in the Alps many years ago. It was a stormy Thursday night in December. A little girl named Helda was asleep in her bed. There was a sudden knock on the door. The knocking grew louder and louder until her dad woke up and went downstairs to check on it. When he opened the door, he was greeted by 3 beautiful ladies. Each of them were wet from the snow. He noticed that the one in the middle had an iron piercing on her nose. Strange, but cool. He couldn't just let them get soaked and catch a cold, so he let them in. His wife wasn't so keen on the idea, but had to go along with it. Little Helda woke up and snuck downstairs to see what the cause of the ruckus was. She saw the 3 beautiful women who looked like goddesses and introduced herself. They were polite and really clean. In fact, they were obsessed with cleanliness. "Cleanliness is next to godliness," said the woman with the piercing. Her 2 companions remained silent. The women examined the room and brushed crumbs and dust off the couch and table for most of the visit. The woman in the middle asked Helda's mother if she finished spinning all her flax yet. Her mother felt really uncomfortable and said no. The father offered them a hearty meal of warm beef stew, but the women declined, saying they only eat fish and gruel. Helda's mom pulled her husband to the side and nervously told him he shouldn't have let them in because the house wasn't clean yet. After an hour, the storm stopped and the women got up to leave. They weren't as happy as they were when they first arrived at the house, and one of the women gave Helda's mother a piercing glare before leaving. Helda's mother walked them to the door, and before she closed it, the woman in the middle whispered, "You are a lazy woman. You should have finished your spinning and cleaning." A week passed, and again, it was a stormy Thursday night before Christmas. Helda noticed that something about her mother was off. She was constantly paranoid, making sure all the doors and windows were locked. When she asked her mom what was wrong, her mother hugged her and apologized in advance for everything that would soon transpire. "The woman who visited us the other night, her name is Frau Perchta, a Christmas witch. She is known to roam the winter nights, along with her demon companions, known as the Perchten, which were the other 2 women who accompanied her. She visits homes during the 12 nights before Christmas and Epiphany, and murders women and children who are lazy and messy. I regret not believing in her existence. Promise me you won't make the same mistake as me. Always make sure the house is spotless." Had her poor mother gone insane? Helda nodded her head and kissed her mother goodnight, not knowing this would be their final interaction. In the middle of the night, Helda was woken up again, this time from the blood-curdling screams of her mother. She rushed to her parents' room, only to see an ugly old crone with an iron nose pull a long knife from under her robe. Frau Perchta. She then disemboweled her mother right in front of her, cutting her open and removing all her insides, then throwing her intestines aside. The old hag then stuffed her mother's stomach with stones and glass from the broken window. Helda screamed for her dad, but in the corner of the room, he was being held captive by 2 hairy creatures with fangs, horns, and tails. The witch turned around and smiled at Helda.
"Keep your house clean, little girl, or else Frau Perchta will visit you."
she said in her old scratchy voice. Hilda puked, then fainted from the horrible sight and smell. Hilda woke up hours later on her parents' bed. She jumped out and ran to look for them. When she put on her slipper, she found a silver coin inside. She ran downstairs and saw officers everywhere. Her mother's body was taken away, and her dad was arrested and accused of murdering his wife. He received a death sentence. Soon after, Hilda was sent to an orphanage where she remained quiet and was bullied for years. She never talked about what happened to her parents whenever kids asked. It was useless anyway, because everyone said her father killed her mother. And she knew they'd send her to an asylum if she told them the truth. But she kept her word to her mom. She spent most of her days cleaning and even offered to complete all the other children's chores, especially during Christmas. Fast forward many years later, Hilda was now an adult, was married, and gave birth to a little boy. Gerald was his name, named after her father. He was a messy kid, the opposite of his mother, who was tidy and kept everything in order, in fear of seeing Frau Perchta again. As time went on, Hilda gradually forgot about the terrifying event responsible for the death of her mother, not because she didn't care, but because her mind was trying to erase the trauma. It was December. Hilda's family was getting ready to have dinner. She wanted to take a break from cleaning because her fingers hurt from spinning her last bit of wool. There was a knock on the door. Hilda suddenly froze. She looked at the calendar in horror because it was Thursday, a birthday night. She yelled at her husband to not open the door, but to no avail. He already opened the door and let a beautiful woman in. She had a metal piercing on her nose and looked familiar. Frau Perchta. Hilda was about to have a panic attack. Her husband offered the woman a seat and meal, but she said she was only there to check on things. Hilda said that it was a kind gesture, but that she had to go. The woman looked at Hilda with displeasement, then walked around the house, examining every corner and piece of furniture, and finally looked satisfied after seeing all of Hilda's new wool. Frau Perchta headed out the front door. Then she turned around, looked at Hilda, and smiled. "Good job, my dear. Keep it up. Your mother would be so proud." At that moment, all the memories came flooding back in, and Hilda immediately had a full-blown panic attack. She spent the next 7 days in total mental breakdown and flashbacks. She envisioned Frau Perchta breaking in through her window at night and had terrible nightmares of waking up to a knife in her body, being gutted alive like a fish, and getting her intestines pulled out like her mother. "Keep your house clean, or Frau Perchta will visit you," she kept repeating over and over again, freaking out her family. Her husband was getting worried for the safety of their child, as Hilda was scrubbing the floor 7 times a day, having manic episodes, and scaring Gerald. Her husband finally had enough when he came home from work one evening and witnessed Hilda screaming at their crying son for not picking up his toys and for having chocolate all over his brand new shirt. She was eventually sent to an asylum and continued to clean her room every day for the rest of her life. Her only request was to have a spinning wheel, which was denied in fear of her hurting herself. Whenever she rested, she was possessed with visions of horror and flashbacks of Frau Perchta. The doctors tried to calm her down the weeks before Christmas by sedating her, and one night, her family received the unfortunate news that she had died, either due to a break-in or self-harm. They found unfinished wool in her hands. When they pulled off her blanket, they discovered that she had been cut open and disemboweled, and left inside were shards of glass and pebbles.